What's going on, good people? Come on in the room. Rika Styles here with y'all. About to get this podcast started. Waiting for Janice to come on. In the meantime, I want to show y'all a couple of items that's on my Poshmark. Y'all can go over to Poshmark and then follow me on at Unique Styles 27 on Poshmark. So I'm gonna show y'all 3 items while we wait for her. Okay. The first one is a cute boot, brand new. Okay, y'all ready? Look at that. Look at that. Isn't she nice and sexy? Come on now. Got the inside zip. If y'all want to purchase this or know more about this, y'all can go to my Poshmark. It's my handle is at Unique Styles 27. This is a size 9. Her name is Danny. If you're interested, hit me up on Poshmark. I'm going to show y'all 2 more shoes until we wait for Janice. Let's see, is that you? Let's see, add, there we go. Okay. I'll probably hop on and show y'all the other. Okay, it's adding her. Get it started. Get it started. Come on, phone. Come on. Don't be acting funny. It said it's adding her. Okay, I'm going to show y'all the next boot. You know, this is booty boot season. So I got one more boot to show you. Hey, how's it going,
Hi,
hon?
hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I was just over here
I
showing my shoes real quick. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I see that. I am Janice, really good friend. So I
Yeah.
got a request to join on here, but I
Okay.
wasn't sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm waiting for her to. Okay, hold on.
yeah, I think she's
I'm waiting for her
chiming in.
to come on. Okay, so while she's being added, I'm gonna show y'all this other boot. This is a Ralph Lauren boot, brand new. As y'all can see, never worn before. Like I said, y'all can go to my Poshmark
Ooh,
and
those are
definitely
cute.
purchase this shoe. Shoes worth $495.
$495?
I'm a thrifter. Guess how much I got this shoe for?
$35. You're even so $17. Less?
Eight
$7.
ninety nine.
What? That
$8.99.
is insane.
I was like,
See,
I
you're
gotta get
good
some.
at that, Rika. I don't have the patience to search through
Yeah,
things. Like
I love
I
it.
just I don't have the patience to search
Yeah,
through things.
it's all good. I'm gonna let you take off your jacket and get situated or whatever. Hey, Antonio, how are you? Hope all is well. I'm gonna show y'all one more boot. Okay,
Okay.
for the winter. Brand new. Okay, as y'all see, she is still in the bag. She comes with a nice. I don't even know what fabric this is, but y'all look at this boot right here. Okay, if this ain't sexy, I don't know what is. Look at this boot, y'all. I love zippers, so this is definitely me. This is a gold zipper. It zips all the way down in the front. I'm going to put this on my Poshmark tonight, as y'all can see. Isn't this cute? You know, Christmas time is coming up. You know, fellas, get your girls something. Girls, get yourself something. Yes. Aren't these cute? Oh my God. So I'm going to put these on my Poshmark tonight. The other ones are already on there. Like I said, my handle is at Unique Styles 27. These are dope. This would go good with a nice jean, a nice clutch to match, and this is like a tannish brown leather jacket will go really good with this. I think these are very nice. Awesome. Hun, are you still trying? Is it Kiki? Are you on here? Hold on. Kiki, try to add yourself back on so I can put you on the screen with us as well. We can get this podcast started. So I just had to show y'all some little sneak peeks of some shoes. Y'all go ahead and help a sister out. You know what I'm saying? Birthday season is coming up, so I'm trying to get it right. Did you see the boot I just put up? Girl,
Mm-mm.
look here. Okay.
Ooh, and see, I need some cognac boots and
Ain't
just,
that sexy?
oh yeah, was those a thrift buy too?
No, these wasn't a thrift buy. No, not these ones. Not these ones.
They
Yeah.
wasn't looking like they was gonna be available on the
Hmm.
thrift side.
I don't know if you saw this one. Did you see this one as well?
No,
Baby,
I like those a
she
lot.
zip in the middle. You know, all the
Yeah.
plastic is still on. These are brand new as well. So these
What
are
size are
size
those?
9. Size 9. What size are
I'm a
you?
10.
Okay, I'm a 10 too. So we the same
Yeah,
size. So
see,
if I see something, I'd be
big.
like, that's homie right there. I'm gonna go ahead and snap him for you. Well, welcome to the
Thank
podcast. I appreciate
you.
you coming on tonight. Let's have a conversation. So tell a little. So I'm just gonna introduce how I met you. So we met. I don't know if it was like 2, 3 years ago.
I think
With
it's 3 years ago
3 years
now.
ago, it went by so fast. With Q, we all used to work out together at the 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
One of them. 6
One of them.
a.m. Yeah.
It was the 5 or 6 a.m. Workout class, and I was just like, man, she's just, you was kind of to yourself, but you was still talking to people. I was like, you seemed dope. Like you was about at that time, you was working on workout clothes and just trying to figure out things. Like you was really going through the grind of figuring out what materials work, what materials don't work. Like I really recognize that you are a person like when you are in something, like you're all in, like you're invested. You do your data, you do your research, you do your recon or whatever. And I just love it. I really saw that meeting you again when we worked out with Simba at the 5 a.m. I don't even. I look back, I was like, I don't even know how I was sitting here doing 5 a.m. for 2, 3 months. Good. That's how
Mm-hmm.
to get up at 4 now. Yeah, that's how we met. Um, your your handles are called the bodyologist. So go ahead and tell the people like what do you do with that and so forth.
So, my name comes from me starting my small business roughly about 3 years ago. I started a non-invasive body sculpting business due
Okay.
to my own weight loss journey. So I had my son in 2020, and I have really rough pregnancy, so it ended up making me gain like a whole bunch of weight. So
Mm,
delivering my son, I was like 300 pounds
wow.
and had to like take a look at myself because I've never been that size, I've never been that big, and
Yeah.
then figuring out like how to get rid of that stuff as somebody who's going through postpartum, somebody who's going through a lot of other things now that didn't know that they were going to compound their emotions and things
Yeah.
like that. And so I lost this weight and didn't know how to get rid of like loose skin and things like that. So I looked
Mm,
into what were some non-invasive ways outside of surgery to get rid of loose skin. And that ended up being the ultrasonic cavitation, the radio frequency body tightening, and then the vacuum therapy.
okay.
And when I tell you guys that that stuff saved my life, not only my like how I saw myself, but then it sparked me into
Yeah.
business, and I was able to kind of flourish and thrive right away off of it, because I went into it knowing that I was my first client, and
Mm,
I was the proof that it worked, and
there you go.
everybody saw that it worked and wanted exactly what I did. And so I was able to have a brick and mortar in Uptown. I was one of the first, I was the first Black woman on the Uptown Business Association board because of my start as a small business owner in 2021. And so it was called Bodyology, and because I didn't want people to I wanted to separate my, because I was still in corporate America at the time. I was in wealth management and I was a branch operations manager, and I wanted to separate my Janice name from my new business name. So me and my cousin was like came up with, well, why don't you be the bodyologist? And that's how it all kind of came about. And as I transitioned out of being because I still do non-invasive body sculpting, but I only do it for people that I really know, because I do it out of my home, and I don't really trust people in my home. So if I know you, you can get some services, but I do travel and do teeth whitening still. So if there's anybody who wants their teeth whitening, I can come to you and still offer that service, and it's only $75.
Oh, that's
But that made me totally go out of that, but I wanted to keep that persona because it separated my professional life from my personal life. And so now the bodyologist is kind of my personal life versus my professional life.
I love it. I love it. What a journey you have traveled. We also have Kiki on here. Did I say your name right? Kiki?
Yes.
Yep. She said that she is one of your good friends, and I was like, "Well,
Yes.
come on, let's all hop on."
Yeah.
When I came up with these questions, I had you in mind, and so I'll just kind of go through them. I wanted it to be organic as possible, so if it leads to other conversations, that's fine. But there's for sure like two on here that I really want to ask you,
Okay.
and then Kiki, you can chime in after she answers or whatever. So this is just kind of a icebreaker for both of you to answer. And my first question is, what comes to mind when you think of cuffing season? Because this episode is called cuffing season. So what is your definition of cuffing season, as well as what has been your experience with cuffing season?
Okay. So cuffing season to me is like that, like crunch time. It's like not even tryouts anymore. Like we're in the thick of the seasons. We're going off. And that's where like all of the tryouts, you kind of pick your person,
Mm-hmm.
that you want to kind of see where this goes over the next cold season.
Yeah.
See how it goes through the cold season, where we have to sit inside, where there's
Mm-hmm.
not much that we can do to explore in Minnesota. I mean, if you're into winter stuff, by all means have a blast, but
Yeah.
I ain't into winter stuff like that. So cuffing season to me is this window of time during the cold season to where you kind of determine, like, can you get cuffed? Like, is this somebody that I can take this relationship into the spring and summer with, and make it all the way back to the next year and see if we can keep that going? Like, that to me is cuffing season. How I have been getting, so first let me preface with, I'm divorced. I'm 2 years post divorce. So cuffing season wasn't even a thing to me prior to these last 2 years. It was like, what the hell is cuffing season? What y'all going through out there? It sounds hectic. Then I got into it and I was like, oh shoot, this is hectic. Oh my God. And honestly, I have not participated in cuffing season because every time I think I'm on the precipice of like really liking somebody, they do something stupid that totally makes me feel uncomfortable with moving forward. Like, totally makes me uncomfortable with moving forward. Like, I can't. So I have not participated in cuffing season. And to T's point, cuffing season is cuddling and sex. Ain't participated in that either. So no matter what way you look, slice and dice it, I ain't partaking in cuffing season yet. I think I might be in the works.
Okay.
I might be in the works. We'll see. But this will be my first trial, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
with cuffing
Okay.
season. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, Kiki, what about you? What is your understanding of what cuffing season is, and then what has been your experience with cuffing season?
So I would piggyback off Janice
Okay.
for sure from a more general aspect, but I feel like it's individualized. For me, cuffing season is not just about sex. Um, like Janice said, it's about, seeing who can make the cut of the rounds. But I do agree that that does consist of a lot of cozy activities, cozy food, movies, cuddling on the couch, cuddling together, skin to skin, stuff like that. My experience has not been good.
Come on,
I've
talk
had some
about
times. Okay, so recently it has become great. It has, but before now, not good. As Janice, I was also married. I'm post married. I think it'll be 3 years next year.
it. Okay.
Officially divorced, and so again, like she said, cuffing season was kind of a new concept. What is that? What do you do? What are the rules? And I like to make my own rules, so it's whatever I say in that aspect. And yeah, so like she was saying, kind of, just cuddling, doing stuff, cozy fireplace, set the scene, cuddle,
Yeah, gotcha.
lots of
So I heard both of you ladies talk about being divorced. You're both pretty fairly newly divorced people. I've been divorced for, it'll be 11 years.
Oh.
Mm, this month? Yeah, this month actually. Yeah, I want to say this month. It'll be 11 years. And I was like, dang, that time went by fast. But honestly, I'm still healing from that marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how much trauma that marriage caused me.
Mm-hmm.
We were married for almost 8 years, to be honest with you, and that's with my son's father. And as I'm healing every single day, I'm like, Lord, I'm a wretch undone. Oh, I have so much trauma, not even just from childhood and parents, just that marriage. I am still unpacking, still dissecting, still healing from, and I didn't realize how impactful, or how I should say, yeah, how impactful and traumatizing that marriage was
Mm-hmm.
until I'm doing the work. I'm in therapy. I'm doing EMDR, which I recommend so many people to do, especially if you dealt with trauma, sexual trauma, abandonment, rejection. I think it's very great because our body stores all that trauma in. And with EMDR, I do tap in. I don't do the eye stuff. I do the tap in, and it just releases the trauma out of my body and my experience. And every time I do a session, my inner self, my younger self, is just like so free, and she finds her voice more and more every time I do a session. So I really encourage you all to look into it. Um, but I want to add to the question of, do you find yourself still unpacking if you had any trauma in your previous marriage? If so, what does that look like?
Whew. Um, wow. So I like to say often that the majority of my marriage was actually pretty pleasant. The majority of my relationship with my first husband was pretty pleasant. Um, what I realized about myself is that I tend to minimize myself in order to be in spaces that I know will accept me.
Mm,
Um, because I struggle with rejection, and who likes being rejected, right?
right.
But I do know that there's people who are more fortified in their beings to where rejection just rolls off of them like water off a duck's back. That wasn't my story. What I realized within my marriage is that my trauma comes from feeling rejected at times in my marriage, and feeling like, so my mom always taught me, like, the man is supposed to like you and love you more than you like them, because you're a woman, you're gonna showcase love, you're gonna showcase affection. Him as the man needs to be so overtly in love with you that it matches your level of expression. And initially in my relationship, I had that. I had an overtly loving, caring man. And as time progressed, not that changed from him being a loving and caring man, how it showed up changed.
Mm,
And it dialed back some when new things got introduced into our lives. And when we had kids, unfortunately, it upended our relationship because we had always just had each other and we always just were with each other. So what I realized for myself is that I have trouble being alone, actually, not realizing that I've never actually been alone. Since I was 17 years old, I've been in committed relationships. You know what I mean? And so coming from being 17, getting in a committed relationship and then moving in with that person right after high school, to then that fall apart and be such a traumatic experience, and then fall into the arms of my first husband, who just like opened arms, family open arms, full of love, full of like care and just lots of good things. um to that falling apart and me realizing like, oh, you've never been alone. Like, you actually don't know what it feels like to be alone. So what I'm unpacking in my life right now is being okay with being alone, knowing that I still want to be with someone, and feeling that like trying to not settle again to, I guess, soothe that loneliness. And so that's what I'm actually working on right now, is standing my ground in certain things that is like, no, you don't like. And even I can't be a woman who just like lets a man move in with her, or like that's not gonna fix my loneliness, because I'm actually terrified of that. So like, I'm actually because I have two kids by another man, and like, how do I reconcile those things? And all, like, it's all these different things. So I'm unpacking how to be alone while yearning to be in a relationship.
I
So
get it 100%. I
yeah.
get it. I want to tap into something you said. You said when you was, when you was married, it was great, and then at a certain point, it went away. It was different, and I can relate to you that when I was married, it was just him and I. We was kicking it, and then his certain friends would come in town, and like I noticed through my marriage, he will always put his friends first. He will always plan with his friends to go to the club, go wherever. And I was like, why can't you be that intensive when it comes to you and I doing something? Why do I always have to be the one, to make plans for us to do something, or even think about us doing something? And after our son was born, it got worse. And I was like, I kind of let all my friends go. I put a distance between us because I'm like, I got a family. We're married. I got a kid now. Mind you, this is in my 20s. I'm still going to club when I can or whatever. But I realized, like, dang, this dude is like rarely around, working 12-hour shifts, and he's going out with his friends and he's drinking. And I was like, you know what? I will never, in that marriage, I said, I will never lose myself in a relationship again, trying to fulfill and be there for someone. And it's like one sided. And
Yeah.
so and I was very codependent. And I didn't realize it then, but I was very codependent. I did not want to be alone. And that's when I started taking myself to the movies, started taking myself shopping, and then out to eat. But then I also realized I was using shopping as a feeder as well. And I was like, baby, you about to go on a debt here, trying to fulfill whatever feeling you are trying to feel or not feel, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Um, and so I told myself I would never lose myself in a relationship again. I just won't. Of course, you kind of got to sacrifice a little bit in the relationship.
Mhm.
Both people should be sacrificing. Like, okay, I'll do something that you want to do, even though it's not what I want to do. But it shouldn't always be one-sided. And so this is why I encourage people when they're dating and even when they're married to still continue to date yourself. Like, go out, you both, have this one day, you do something for yourself and you do something with yourself, whatever that is. Like, I'm trying to look for a pottery class to go to. Like, I would love to get some ladies together and do like a sipping, bring your own bottle thing. I did see something, but I don't know. I just like being with other women, empowering each other. But I was like, no, that's something you want to do by yourself. Go by yourself, date yourself. And I feel good and empowered every time I do it. So I encourage you as single women, continue to date yourself, take yourself out, explore yourself, treat yourself. Because if you're doing that for yourself, then you can expect that man who's going to come into your life to continue that, whatever, versus
Yep.
not doing it and you expect him to spoil you. And he's like, well, you're not
Oh,
even doing it
you
for
don't do
yourself.
this.
Why do you expect that from me? And so, yeah. Now, Kiki, what has, if any, have you had trauma that you are still unpacking being 3 years out of a marriage?
I'll say learning that, how can I say? I will say one thing I'm unpacking is fear. I'll say that. The fear is showing up in different ways. It's not fear from like being hit or whatever thing happened. It's more of a now, okay, I'm past that. And then it's like, oh, well, now I'm scared to be with somebody because what if this or what if that? Or they're nice to me. Why are they so nice to me? And what do they want? And like just stuff like that. Kind of more like a self-doubt, second
Mhm.
guessing type of thing for me, I would say. Something else I would say, just I think that's just mostly that. That's been the biggest thing for me lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I just met you and I don't know how comfortable you are, but I don't know if your marriage was abusive. And if it was it, was it abusive on a mental level, physical level, emotional level, financial
Um,
level? Um, and I just asked that because I heard you say fear of, and you said hit. I
it
think
was
that's what you said.
it was both physically,
Okay.
emotionally,
Okay.
and verbally, um, from both of us.
Okay.
And again, like you were saying, we were young when we got together, young, like early 20s. And
Mm-hmm.
it didn't start off with us having that kind of like built up relationship and then having kids. We kind of got together on like a oopsie daisy type thing. We were talking, things happened, got pregnant, boom. And then we took off in a relationship. So we both were learning how to deal with each other, be parents, and also deal with like our backgrounds and where we come from and how our relationships with our parents played into that. And I think it just, exploded in a not so positive way a lot of times. And I would say there was some good times that like my ex, that was my dog. That was my dog. And when we got along really well. But when we fought. And so just kind of just recovering from that. I say that's probably on both of us as far as like recovering from the abuse and stuff. I don't know, Janice, what you think? What you think? What else I might struggle with?
I don't think that it's a struggle. I think
Or
it's a, how do you say, like a progression. Like you have to, like there's phases of things that we go through, or not even necessarily phases but levels, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're just at a level right now to where like everything has been realized and you're trying to sort through all the realizations that you have and kind of figure out how you want to move forward as a woman who wants to be in a relationship or not. Like I think that's, I don't want to say that you're struggling with anything, because what I've watched you do is take a step back and look at yourself when things are not kind of flowing the way that you expected them to flow, or you are very big on, okay, so what's going on with me, because this is three guys now that have kind of done similar things, so like what am I doing wrong? Like, so I can't really pinpoint anything else that you're struggling with, because I think fear encompasses so much of what you're going through,
mm-hmm.
that is the thing that you fear, is the thing that stops you from making a move in this situation and in that situation, and you know what I mean. So it's like once you tackle that fear and you begin to feel safe in your own body again and safe in your own mind and in your own decision making, I think that it's just gonna take off. People be doing too much playing. Yes, and it's triggering. T, it's triggering. And I think that even when we're talking about what you struggle with, it's like reacting to your triggers. And what I work on right now as a mindfulness coach is reducing emotional reactivity to
Mm-hmm.
everything that happens around me. So that emotional charge that comes up when Buddy said that he liked me, but now he's being weird as hell. Like what just like what just happened? You know, it's now how do I deal with those emotions that just came upon me? Do I then make a rash decision that says, let me go screw somebody else because he's then pissed me off and now I got somebody else that I didn't even really like that I got to deal with, or you
Come
know
on,
what I mean?
come on. Them trauma responses are real.
It's what are we doing to reduce the charge from when we're
Yeah,
triggered?
yeah,
And I think Kiki, from what I've seen over this at least last year, is I've seen you start to reduce the charge. And yes, T, everybody has trust issues. So that makes it even harder.
yeah,
And men have trust issues too that nobody wants to talk about. Everybody talks about us like
yeah.
we go through so much, which we do.
But
We
man,
do.
Yeah,
But
we're quick to
men,
say something, and guys aren't. Well, I'm not going to say all men are not quick to say it as much as we are, but also men have not been provided the safe space to
nope.
voice. And then the thing is, when they do provide their voice in the space, the women use it against them, and they're like, "See, this is why I don't
Yep.
say anything." So
Yep.
unfortunately, we have a lot of men like that, and I
Yep.
really will hope some men are listening tonight to come on and talk
And
about
there's
that.
another side of that though too, Rika, that has all of these platforms for men to just spew whatever they want and whatever that isn't even conducive or beneficial to men nor women
Right.
and what we're supposed to be doing
Right.
together. Like everybody has this attitude that we don't need each other. Like, and in all actuality, each other is all we actually
Right.
need.
I
You
I
know what
agree.
I mean? If we really get down to the root of what our world is built on, it's supposed to be built on love. It's supposed to be built on love. It's supposed to be built on open communication. It's supposed to be built on consideration and compassion. But we don't operate like that because we be so in our own silos. And like T brought up, we're all traumatized.
Right.
Everybody
Some way of
is
capacity.
traumatized.
We are. All some way of capacity. We are. May not be in the same way, may not
Either
whatever. We
from
are.
your, you even said it earlier, Rika, you said not from my childhood, not from you, just from the
Marriage.
marriage.
Just in the
You're
marriage was
just
11
talking
years
about the
ago.
marriage.
Divorced for
But that's not
11 years.
negating, that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
negating the childhood trauma. That's not negating the other trauma that you've experienced, maybe
Right.
professional trauma, workplace trauma, or whatever the
Right.
case may be. Like,
Whole nother
it's not
topic. I think.
negating those
Right.
things.
Right.
It's
It's
just
true.
simply saying like, hey, I'm this is the stuff that's revving up right now in my
Right.
spirit. This is the
That
stuff that's
part.
hindering me right now
Yeah.
in my spirit. And once I start working on these things, then maybe I can get to little baby Rika,
Right.
you know,
I'm
because
always trying to embrace her, and her name is Riri.
Riri.
I'm always trying to embrace her. And one of the things, one of my, I know all my flaws. I know all my traumas. I know all my triggers. And I believe a lot of men and women don't. They're not self-aware enough to know what triggers what's their traumas. I do. I know where I am at, okay? I know. And it comes from childhood trauma. It comes from me being abandoned at a young age, rejected at a young age from my mother and my father, unfortunately, and both sides of my family, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother, she moved a lot for whatever reason. She moved a lot. And so, and even as an adult, I struggle with this. And it's like, I'm aware of it, but I don't know where it starts that I can interject. And so when I would get to a place or get comfortable with a school or a neighborhood and start to have friends, I got to pack up and leave again. So after 4 or 5 times of that happened as a childhood, like now my adulthood pattern is like that. I want to be close. I want a family. I want I want close friends. I want people to be close to me, but I will not let a person get close enough to me to let them in. Even though I desire it, I would not let them in. Like, no, okay, you've gotten close enough. You've seen too much of my ugliness. Okay, you know too much. I gotta push you back. That's where I'm in my life. And I'm like, God help me, because I don't want to be this way anymore. Like, I want a family. I want friends. And I'm just like, God, like, help me get through this. Am I the only person in this world dealing with this? Like, I want and desire close relationships, but at the same time, I do not let anybody in close to me because, for one, it's trust issues, it's trauma, it's abandonment issues, and it's also rejection issues. Like, all of that ties in, and I'm like, this is my battle now. This is the battle that I am fighting now, and I'm like, I need help, but I don't know what to ask for.
Mm. It's funny that you keep bringing up abandonment, Rika. So I am, like I said, training to be a mindfulness coach, and the mindful eye method. Shout out to William Drew, however you want to say his name, but he's the truth. So look him up, mindful eye. Um, we have 3 emotional wounds that all of our trauma and just things kind of stem from,
Mm-hmm.
and they're considered abandonment, shame, and betrayal.
Mm.
Those are our 3 emotional wounds that kind of encompasses everything,
Yeah.
that we go through. So when he taught me this, I'm like, okay, so if there's some wounds, what's the remedies, big dog? Like, how we soothe the wounds, how we get, how you close them up, suture them, what we got to
Right.
do. And he said, how do you remedy betrayal with commit with loyalty?
Mm-hmm.
How do you remedy shame with honor? How do you remedy abandonment with commitment? And so until you experience someone fully committing to being a presence in your life, of course I'm gonna feel like every time, because I haven't been exposed to commitment.
Right.
I haven't been exposed to honor. I don't know what loyalty looks like, because who's done that for me?
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you get into those types of things of like, what's really hurting me, until those remedies come in to soothe that and fulfill those wounds, we're stuck in that loop of that. And those things don't come from other people. Those things come from inside you.
Right.
They can't be external for how we remedy those wounds. They have to be coming from us. The sucky part is you still yearn for external.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
still yearn
So
for it.
how does one get started with being loyal to themselves, being committed to themselves? Like, what does that look like for one to
Um,
get started? Where does one start with that?
what I would say is it starts with something you said, which is being self-aware
Mm-hmm.
of knowing that these are needs of yours, knowing what your struggles are, what your triggers, traumas, all these things are. Because once you have that understanding, then something should prompt you to want to do better it in some way,
Yeah.
and then it just goes into you learning
Mm.
learning you for real, loving
Yeah.
you, for caring for you. And what do those things look like? That means sometimes saying no
Yeah.
to a lot of people who you are always saying yes to. But
Yeah.
maybe it's time to say no. Maybe that's what it looks like to show honor to yourself. Maybe that's what it looks like to be committed to yourself, is like, because maybe your no to that situation is finally what settles you in your spirit, because you're constantly settling somebody else's emotions and spirit.
Right. That's good. I like that. That's good. I mean, I have a handful of people that have been consistent in my life that will show up when I allow them to. But because I have this record playing in my head, Riri has this record playing in my head that no, you can't trust anyone. No, they're gonna leave too. No, they're gonna abandon you too. I
Mm-hmm.
have to constantly fight with that record. I have to constantly stop it and take it off the player and say, no, these people are they've been in your life. They're more than willing to pray for you. They're more than willing to X, Y, and Z. But I'm like, I don't know what I need. So because I don't know what I need, I don't ask. But I even got to the point now of saying, I don't know what I need. Because I would just push people away and just be like, because for one, I'm the only child. Okay. Let me just put that disclaimer out there. When you are the only child, you don't have to think of nobody else. You don't have to, I didn't have to consider anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, I always had to figure it out on my own. I raised myself since a very young age, first legal job at 16, had my own place before 18. You know what I'm saying? So when I go through problems, I didn't have anybody in my corner to figure it out. So now when I go through things as an adult, I push everybody away because it's like I don't want to hurt them while I'm trying to figure it out. But at the same time, I am hurting them because I am pushing them away, not allowing them to help me figure it out. But the people that were in my corner, they will always disappoint and drop the ball. And I'm like, see, this is why I don't ask for help either. But I have to learn. I'm still learning how to tell Riri that they are safe people. They're not leaving. They've been in your life for a good 10 years. They're not leaving. They're still here. Everybody else is gone, but they're still here. That's a constant battle of that younger mind and my adult mind every single day. And I'm just like, a lot of people don't do enough justice for themselves by even acknowledging the younger self that he or she exists, that he or she are wounded, that he or she needs love or affection um, at the end of the day, and so I think once we do acknowledge our younger selves, we can heal more easily or quicker and invest in the right things versus that younger girl feeling abandoned by her father, looking for affirmations and confirmation with a man who was unfortunately just like her father, a hoe. Come on now, we repeat the pattern. So I believe once we heal our younger self or even acknowledge our younger self, we
Yep.
can, as adults, function more better. And that's just I'm only speaking from my personal experience. I don't know if anybody else
I
has
agree
been in the boat.
with you, though, Rika, because I am actually of the mindset that there's even more than just our younger selves, our ego.
Mhm.
We have we have all these parts of us. We have an ego, we have a conscious mind, and we have a subconscious mind. And our ego is always trying to prove that it's got everything under control.
Yeah.
Our ego, and so you're pushing people away because it's like, no, I can control this part. Like, I can control whether or not you leave or not, because I
Right.
don't actually let you all the way in. So how can you leave if I never actually let you all the way in? So if you go
Mhm.
somewhere, it ain't really no skin on my
Right.
back, because
I
you
made
ain't
the
really
decision.
in.
Right. I made the decision to do it anyway, and that's self-sabotaging. You know what I'm saying? I
Yep.
had to be aware of that. And I'm just like, why? Why? And I'm asking myself, where did these behaviors come from? It's because I watched my mother do them.
Yep.
I watched her go through her own struggles, and I'm just like, wow. There's a great book out there called My Grandmother's Hands. We carry our
Oh
great
my
great grandmother's
oh
trauma.
my God.
Great
I
book if
love
you haven't read it.
that
Great
book.
book. Really good book.
Resma,
A lot of things that we struggle with are not even our own. Not
they're
at
not.
all.
They're not. They were passed down to her from our parents, from their
Yeah,
parents, from our
yeah,
ancestors who were beat on and raped, and like, what are we really talking about for
right.
real? Like, if we really get into the specifics, like, yeah, we talking about cuffing season, but the reason why nobody can't cuff nobody,
Come
especially
on.
in our
Come on.
community and during this season, is because we have so much generational genetic
Yeah.
trauma stored inside of our bodies that the slightest thing triggers us to feel like, oh no, I ain't dealing with that. Even for a man, like a man will be like, nope, she asking for too much.
Right.
Ugh. Feel like you, or she's not asking for enough. She's got
Yeah.
too many other, she's got other dudes out here doing stuff for her, then she ain't really, you know what I mean? Like it's there's so much stuff built inside of us to the point to where, like, as a man, I cannot imagine how hard it is to be a father not having a
Yeah.
father. A lot of men try to act like, oh, it's so easy, it's so simple, da 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 da. I be sitting there looking at them like, that's crazy, because not being exposed to something and then thinking that you know how to do it, you got to be quite an anomaly.
Right.
You got to be quite or you have to have the wherewithal with inside of you
Something. Yeah.
to go against what you were taught, which means that how you felt did not feel good, and you don't want to inflict that on anybody else. So you're scrambling to figure out all the ways to not inflict that harm that you felt on your children. And that's how you end up being a better parent, because you're willing to learn. You're willing to go through and figure out things and be like, nope, bump my head. Let's try again. Let's try something different. So I commend parents, not just fathers, but parents who did not have a blueprint, who weren't exposed to love, to care, to compassion, and still figured out a way to do it. But
Right.
then to extend that over into a relationship with the opposite sex, or however people get down, but I'm talking about the opposite sex
Right. I
right
don't.
now. So
Mm-mm. Not like. Mm-mm.
how we try to figure out those things, dealing with not only generational trauma but genetic trauma, and then the trauma that we experience ourselves
Right.
within our own lives.
Right. Yeah. You brought up so many other entities. Kiki, I want to hear from you too, but so many other entities, relationships, family. You said corporate, churches. There's so many other entities on top of the basic foundation of the trauma that we have been through. Kiki, I see you over there, nodding and smiling. You want to chime in on anything that we are talking about, or add anything for this one?
I have nothing to add. It's all been covered. I'm
Okay.
just because I personally I can relate to a lot of those things, especially with the not having a blueprint on how to be a parent, and like you were saying about not having that care or love from either parent. Um, yeah, that plays a big part, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that it hasn't played a part on how I've become a parent and how I've been that parental figure for my children. And like Janice was saying, I just can't imagine what a man go through. Because I used to be one of those people that was like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You're a man. But then as I've done work on myself and tapped into being more compassionate and empathetic with myself, I've come to realize that they deserve the same courtesy of care and
Yes.
emotional enhancement and positivity, just like women do. Um, so it goes from being, oh, women are this or men are this. It's all of us.
A whole
All
of us.
it's all of us. Nobody is no.
Right.
And I just feel like once people learn that, they would be able to not only fix themselves but also understand that it's nobody real fault. You know, we all have things that we need to unlearn. I'll say, and with the world now, it's hard, but it's doable. And
Right. It is.
you have
I
to
used
put
to
the
be.
you have to put the work in.
Yeah.
A lot of people, oh, don't go to therapy. Just like therapy is not something that's often brought up in our community. It's not encouraged because I
Right.
don't tell this person this or whatever the case may be. So from my experience with dealing with therapy, and I went through multiple therapists until I found one in 2017 that has been helpful to a certain extent, but they're helpful in the ways that I needed them to be helpful. I didn't have to expose everything about myself to the bare bones or nothing like that for them to be helpful to me. But also, I made sure that I put it at the top of it to do the work myself because it wasn't working at first for me because I wasn't doing the work myself.
Yeah.
I was just listening.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. But it does if you do it.
Mhm.
It's
It is
practice.
true. It is true. I used to blame my mother.
Mm.
I used to blame my mother for the longest time. For the longest time. And I used to blame my father because I was like, you left. You allowed me to deal with her.
Mm.
And that's why I was mad at my father for leaving. It was like, okay, I see why you left. You didn't want to deal with it either. But he was young too. And I had to learn that my mother can only teach and show me what she learned, what she had. And once I got that revelation and I was like, aha, once I learned more about my family side and my dad's side, he didn't have a father to show him either. So he did his best as what he could, like, and I had to ask myself I had to ask for forgiveness because I'm like, how can I ask something from my mother she had no example of? The great things that my mother taught me, the great things I saw my mother do was provide. She was a provider. She always had 2 or 3 jobs. She always kept a roof over our house. We always had food, always had clothes, even though if sometimes they would come from Mary Jo, sometimes they would come from the thrift store. It don't matter. We always had, and growing up, I didn't realize I was poor because
Mm.
everybody else around me was poor. So like this society today, like it's just so different. We all was in it together. No one felt higher or lower. We was just all equal. We was in the same boat. But once I realized I was asking something from my mother she never had, she never saw, she never received herself. She gave me all that she could, and that was survival skills. But then at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I'm tired of growing up in a survival mentality. I want to live. I want to enjoy. You know what I'm saying? But I'm thankful because I work my tail off. I'll go sell a pair of stocks on some corner. You know what I'm saying? To make ends meet. I'm a find a way to make $1 to get some bills paid or to put some
Yep.
food on the table. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
I saw that from my mom. I got that from my mom. Good work ethic is what I got from her. Being a provider, being responsible, but being emotionally available. What is
Mm-mm.
that?
Mm-mm.
Nah, being in tune with your
Yep.
emotions and not yelling at your kids, but sitting down and telling them, baby, it's not you. I just had a bad day. I'm trying to figure out these bills. I got you to think about. Your daddy didn't piss me off. Like, I got a lot on my mind. I talk like that with my son. Like, I'm sorry.
I
I,
talk to
I
that
may have snapped at you a little bit.
period.
These people at work, they was microaggression today. People in traffic, 2 people didn't cut me off, almost got into an accident. They didn't jip me out like $50 of my money. I was going to buy your sneakers with that. I have those kind of conversations with my son to be emotionally available to let him know, like, why am I a little irritated right now?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Just to help him understand. Versus I used to just yell at him, and then I saw how hurtful that was to him, and I was like, dang, my mom used to do the same thing. I don't want to do that to
Yep.
him. I'm a person that needs answers. He's the same person. Let me help give him answers of why I am this way. He is so in tune with me. I was
Man,
like, your wife is going to be, she's going to work
so
for you.
grateful.
Okay. She's going to be so
So
grateful.
grateful.
So
So grateful.
grateful to you. So grateful. So I'm glad that I'm able to give my son so many things that I needed as a child, but also things my mother couldn't give me. That's the type of mother that I've turned out to be. Yet there's still things
Exactly.
that I can work on and be
Yep.
better at.
Yep.
But I'm
And
like,
that's
thank
what
you.
that's where he takes the torch and becomes an even better parent,
Right.
like, because you're doing what you're supposed to do. We're not going to get it right. We
Right.
can't get it right all the time.
I'm gonna try.
I just yelled at my 4-year-old this morning and it hurt his feelings. And I
Yeah.
was so crushed afterwards because my intention wasn't that. My intention at the time was for him to understand, like, you can't keep abruptly doing things like this.
Yeah.
Our schedule, our routine, and sometimes you do these things to manipulate the situation,
Mm,
and realizing at the same time that he's 4.
yeah.
How is he supposed to pick up on all of that right
Right.
now?
Come on now. Come on.
you know so it's like, yeah, all of that might be true, and he's
Yeah.
still 4 and can't do
Right.
all of that
Come on
right
now.
now, Janice. So don't
Come
yell
on.
at him about something. redirect him and tell him to go downstairs and eat his breakfast like he's supposed to,
Right.
because interrupting a child's spirit for no reason at all
Come
other
on.
than you can't handle your emotions.
I believe we were all raised to be, I believe we was all raised in some form of suppression. Shh, be quiet. Don't say that. Don't do this. Don't do that. I'm like, that has teared and chipped away from our creativity and our voice so much that now we don't even know how to advocate for ourselves to a certain extent, or if we do, it's very limited.
Very,
You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
yep.
I tell my son, I'm like, advocate for yourself, especially we're in Burnsville. Excuse my language. We're here with all these white people. Boy, you better speak up. And if you need help, you better ask for it. And don't be ashamed. Just do it in a respectful way.
Yep.
I'm like, my mother, she was an advocate for me in school. Like, and I was in an all black
Because she
school.
has survival skills, right?
Nope.
Because she wasn't going to let nobody come in and undo everything that she's put her hard work into, all
Right.
the effort she's put in. No, you're not going to disrespect my child because I raised her to be educated. I
Yeah.
put in too much work to make sure she's in this school and make sure she's doing what she's supposed to do. So you're not about to do that. I might
Nope.
not
And that's
know how
how
to
I am
give her
with
a
my
hug.
son. I'll be
Might
right.
not
What?
know how to give
Excuse
her
me?
a hug.
They said what? The teacher said, okay, I'll be up there in 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. Don't play with me. Right around the corner. I sit in his class all day, and
And
I
I
make
think
sure the teachers
And
don't
I
don't
think
play
a
with that
lot
one.
of our issue, honestly, in our community, and I can only speak for our community because this is the one that I'm a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Our issue is that we can't let go
Right.
of the past, number one,
It's within us.
because
It's
it's within us,
instilled. It's
but we're
instilled.
also unwilling to do the work
Mm.
to actually start the healing process. That's
Yeah.
our biggest issue, is that we're unwilling to let go and therefore unwilling to do the work. And so therefore we just end up in a roundabout cycle.
You know
And
why we're willing? You know why we're not willing to let go? Because it's
no,
a
you don't.
comfort blanket.
Because you know why? You want to know why? This goes into some more training that I'm doing, because we subscribe to programming and stories that we were told when we were children, and we stick with
Yeah.
them as them being our identities, not
Mm-hmm.
realizing that we get to
This
create
situation.
our own identities. When Rika, when you grew up and you thought about Lil Riri and how she felt, you didn't say, okay, now let me duplicate that. I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to make sure that my child feels exactly how little Riri feels.
Right.
No, you started figuring out ways to chip away at
Mm-hmm.
that and provide something different for your child.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what we need to do. We just have to take that to the next level. And that's what all of us are starting to
Yeah.
try to do. I think a lot of us have better means than we've had in the past. So we can talk about that. A lot of us as Black people have accessibility in a new way to where we
Oh yeah.
can do self-care, where we can start
Absolutely.
taking care of things in a different way, where we can start getting some kind of additional resources that can expose us to a higher, like, knowledge base, because we are coming from nothing but trauma. And when you get exposed to like real healing you don't want to go backwards.
Mm-mm.
You
Mm-mm.
don't want to go
No, I
backwards. And
think
so until
we
we
also need
actually
to do
get
the work
that,
of taking the pros and cons of the trauma. Like I mentioned earlier, the cons raising with my mother, she was not emotionally available. She didn't express her feelings. I never saw her cry. She just was just this tough lady, funny and comical around everybody else, but with me, very stern. The pros was she was a hard worker. She worked. Let me say this. She is a hard worker. She was a provider. She knew how to grind. She was a go-getter. You know what I'm saying? So those are the pros that I have to take from my trauma and instill that in my son, and take the cons and heal the cons. And then whatever I learned from whatever healing and learning I learned from the cons, I teach my son that, so he doesn't have to go through that, or he can recognize it really quickly what his pros and cons are from my trauma. You know what I'm saying? I think we need to recycle that. That's a healthy way to recycle back to our children, back to our community, back to our families, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Hey,
I agree.
Sandra. Well, ladies, do y'all have any last nuggets or anything? A lot of the questions. I love that it was very organic because a lot of the questions that I had, it just flowed, so the answers came out. Do y'all have any last minute things that y'all want to say as being two women of color who are divorced, who have children, who are out here dating or out and about or single, whatever? I don't know if you're dating, but just any good nuggets you want to give anybody else that may have dealt with anything that we've all discussed on here to give encouragement or motivation to them.
I will say just to be patient and kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Be okay with making mistakes. Because like it's hard. It's just hard. So I would say continue. If you're not giving yourself grace, start to, and if you are giving yourself grace, continue. So
That's good. I'm gonna take that advice. I'm a very, very hard critic person, and that's
you
because my
gotta
mother was, she was very stern. It felt like nothing was ever good for that woman. So
nothing.
I'll be like,
Nothing.
okay, but look at all the things that you got going on. You mess up, I mess up on this. Look at all, you got so many great things going for yourself. Girl, you gonna have to sit with
You
that
gotta
every
start.
single day. Girl,
Yes.
just sit.
Please, Rita.
Yeah,
Please, Rita. And this is coming from someone who is hard on
yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
This is coming from someone who talks to themselves like trash half the time.
Come on.
So like I'm telling, and I'm saying this to you too, Janice. Give yourself grace more often than not.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, but practice, just
Practice,
practice,
practice, and just
practice.
practice. Because it don't make perfect, so just keep practicing.
Practice
Right.
makes improvement.
Yeah,
There
it
we
does.
go.
It
That's
does.
practice.
It does. You're muted. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Apologize to yourself and just know that you do have to say things happen for a reason. And there's
Mhm.
beauty throughout pain. Like just because we've gone through what we've gone through, it's been beautiful. It has helped me. I'll say speaking on me, but I feel like for in Denise and I situation is helped us find ourselves outside of being a partner and a mom or just a partner or whatever the case may be. We've been able to gather our self identity back, and I love that for us. I love that for anybody that's able to do that. Because it's easy to get lost when you're intertwined with so many other different what am I going to say, roles that you have to play throughout life. So definitely you have to have grace. You definitely have to be okay with making mistakes. Mistakes help you learn. And from somebody that thinks that I'm supposed to get everything on the first try, I'm telling you, mistakes help you learn. You can't get everything on the first try. And
That part.
I've kind of passed that down to my daughter, and I have to go back and say, hey, you have to practice. If you want to be great, you have to practice with the greats.
Yeah.
You can't like be down because you did something a couple times and it didn't work. So yeah, practice makes improvement. Be willing to do the work. You'll know when you're ready to change because you will actually start doing the work.
Mhm.
There you go.
Work
That's beautiful.
I
I
like that,
believe,
Kiki. You'll know when
of
you're
course,
ready to change because you're gonna start doing the work,
right.
big dog.
That part. As Janice know, I'm a believer of Christ, and I believe everything that we go through is for His purpose, and nothing that we have experienced is in vain. And I'm honestly a living testimony of that because after my marriage, I got into a bum jack donkey relationship just because I was codependent.
Just say bum jack donkey.
Relationship, and it just left me so broken. It left me so broken and homeless. But as I became closer to God, and I was in that shelter, which was a Christian shelter, it brought me closer to God. I was able to then forgive that person even more because I'm like, if you didn't do all that you did to me, I wouldn't be in this shelter. I wouldn't come back from backsliding. I wouldn't build my relationship with Christ. I wouldn't been able to get into the church that I got into. I wouldn't been able to get into my job and my place that I got into. So like everything was happening for a reason. And once I realized everything happens for a reason, Everything is God's plan, whether we like it or not. He can use it for our greater good at the end of the day. And I can say that because I'm a living testimony of,
Mm-hmm.
of being in a relationship where a guy laced my weed and caused me to be paranoid and schizophrenic, and that I was afraid to go outside every single day for like months. But the grace of God delivered me from that.
Oof.
And if I didn't go to that shelter, I wouldn't have found out that I had thyroid cancer. And now because I found the cancer early, I can sit here and say that I'm 11 years cancer free. Everything happens for a purpose, for a God-given purpose. So whether you're heartbroken, whether you're sad, oh God, I'm gonna cry. It doesn't matter. It all is gonna work out for your good at the end of the day. You're gonna be able to help somebody not go through what you've been through because of your knowledge and all of your experience that each and every one of us has gone through. And so I just encourage, if anybody is on here with a heavy heart, if anybody is on here going through anything, it's going to be all right. It's all going to work at the end of the day.
It will.
And the greater is going to be way better than what you are dealing with now. I'm a living witness of it multiple times over. He will never leave nor forsake you. He
We
will
are
never fail you.
All living witnesses.
it's a
So
union.
it is. It is. Y'all don't have me crying
Thank
this
you
goddamn laugh.
so much, Rika. This was
Yes.
awesome. Yeah,
Yes.
you almost brought me to tears a couple times on here, but this is how I know that I am reducing a lot of my emotional charge, because all of the stuff that we've talked about is super triggering for me,
Yeah.
and I did not need to cry today. I felt it well up, but then I was able to kind of regulate it and put it down and still have these conversations. So this was powerful today. I
Yeah.
appreciate you
Thank you, ladies. I
allowing us to
appreciate
be
you.
in this space with you.
Thank
Yes. Thank you all, ladies. I appreciate it. Once again, and Janice, I know you said you know what, you didn't want to well up on the podcast, but well up. Us as women, we need to allow that to come on out. A lot of Black folks, we need to allow it to come on
Oh,
out and
Rika,
stop
I
suppressing
cried
it.
too much.
You know what I'm
Ask me,
saying?
please.
But
I
yeah,
cried too much, Rika.
girl,
I'm
you better
done.
cry on this goddamn podcast.
I need a year of no tears. I just need a year of no tears. I don't care what happened. Just don't cry this
Yeah,
year, because
yeah.
I
I'm
could
like, don't
probably
do it.
fill up a lot.
Yeah, I got a little tear right here trying to come out now. Like, oh, come on, now, come on. Wait till you get off. I'll ball it out. But yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ladies, for joining the podcast. I really appreciate your vulnerability and just sharing your experiences and your opinions with me. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all enjoy your night, okay?
you.
You as well. Bye bye.
All right, good night.